Welcome to Metaphysical Soul Speak. I'm your host, Elena Fox Starks. Hey guys, I hope that whenever and wherever you are at this moment, that you are paying attention to any signs that your body is giving you that something is amiss. These warning signs can save your life. Sometimes you'll get like a little pain or twinge and it's nothing, and sometimes it's something. So pay attention, ask your body, use muscle testing. Go back to my kinesiology episode and ask. Figure out how to do that and ask. You might just save your life. I had an ordeal this morning, all day actually. I went to bed late-ish, but not, the sun wasn't up yet. I went to bed and I had about 8 hours of sleep. And when I woke up, I could barely move. My body was completely sore. We had massive thunderstorms a couple days ago that had fully passed, so it wasn't that. And I felt just run down, slurred speech, massive headache, body ache throughout my whole body. And yet I wasn't sick. It wasn't the flu. It was something worse. I don't know 100%, but I looked it up and I have the symptoms of having been poisoned with radiator fluid. I suspect the food, the meals that I'd been having delivered, I can't say definitively if that's what it is or not, but she delivered them yesterday and I was going to pay today for them, and I ended up giving the meals back because it's that bad. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. And she's like, I made them fresh for you yesterday. I wouldn't do anything, and I'm like, well, I have been, every week I have notes, I have complaints. Like the one week I said, the meals are great. I forgot, though, not to say, please don't put any pork in my meals. You haven't really, but I want to emphasize that. So the following week, she sent meals with pork in them. The week that I asked, what kind of salt are you cooking with? I'm just curious. And the following 2 weeks, the meals had absolutely zero salt, even though she said sea salt or Himalayan salt. And I said, that's great. That's fine. That's what I use here. That's great. It's perfect. So then she stopped salting meals. So it seems like every time I made a note, something went amiss with the food for the following week. The first week, the meals were excellent. The second week, all the meals had squash in them, which was, okay, whatever. Some people like squash. To me, it's just a no. But when I asked her, please, after the first week, I said, hey, is it possible to have cruciferous vegetables removed from the diet because I'm trying to heal my adrenal glands? And she said, not a problem. And then the following week, every meal had cruciferous vegetables. So it just seems like every time I gave a note or asked any question, even if I was just like, Oh, out of curiosity, what was that? You know, I mean, sometimes there are vegetables I don't recognize, but we're in another country, so, you know, and some of the vegetables are like, you know, days she put pumpkin, which was excellent. It was like, wow, I'm eating pumpkin for dinner. That's so cool. And she cooks it like a squash, you know, so, which it is, but, you know, she just added it like a normal vegetable. One time I put cinnamon and sugar on it, separated it out and made like a pie. But it was like every time I made a note, the following week, something would be really strange or amiss somehow. And I didn't complain the 4 or 5 times I found a hair in the meal. You know, I know that these people work hard and they work out of their home, and I mean, I'm heating it up in the oven, so, you know, the germs are gone, even though it's very gross, and I was trying, as a Virgo, not to be so judgmental about it. One time I found a hard piece of plastic, like a piece of a fork in the meal, almost like a piece of a plastic fork. And I just thought, well, you know, okay, again, things happen, whatever, let it go. But last week when I complained about the pork and asked for my money back for the meal that had the pork in it, and that I would return the meal to them so they could use it, you know, like right away I froze it so it'd be still safe. So this week, yesterday I ate the meals that just seemed to be normal meat, and it was really good. Actually extraordinarily good. I was like, oh wow, the meal is so good. Then I wake up this morning and it feels like I have been poisoned. I mean, just straight up. I read all the symptoms, and out of like 10 symptoms, I have 8 of the symptoms. And sure, these symptoms can be something else, but I am not sick. I'm just, somehow I've been poisoned. So I said, hey, you know, I need my money back for these, and since I didn't pay you yesterday, I'm just going to pay you. My son wants his meals. Well, my son had 2 meals yesterday with beef tongue in them. And he said it took him over an hour to get through one of the meals, and he just ended up having to go to the local dog, that is his friend, and he fed it to the dog, and the dog was weirded out by the meat that he was feeding him. The dog was like, ugh. How many of you have known a dog to turn down meat? Right? Something freaking wrong. And my son's like, I don't want to hurt her feelings. I don't want to confront her. You've got to do it. I'm not going to do it. And then he got mad at me. I'm like, I'm sorry. If someone is poisoning me on purpose, I'm not going to continue to pay for that. Now, it could be that everything was normal from their end, but as I looked through the meals of the week, they looked really weird, like not like real meat. One looked like maybe it was beef tongue or something, and one looked like intestines, and one looked like a heart or kidneys, and one looked like liver. And I'm like, oh, I see. So the retaliation this time is that I said, please don't serve me pork. And they keep insisting that what they served in my meals this week was beef, but it looks really weird, like organ meats, right? And I'm like, that's a really crappy thing to do to somebody when they're relying on you for their life, literally. You know, so I gave all the meals back. I didn't even eat any of them today. I don't trust her. I don't trust him now. Now I'm like, even if they weren't organ meats and they just happen to look weird, I'm not inclined to trust her from now on. I mean, I told you, don't give me cruciferous, no cruciferous. And then the following week, it was all cruciferous, no pork. The following week, there was pork. And I just felt like, why give someone the ability to hurt me? It's like I already have trust issues, but, this person had no reason to hurt me. And then when I would complain, and I wasn't even a complaint, it was more like, hey, what kind of salt are you guys using? The pork, that day I absolutely complained. But before I was like, okay, just some notes for this week. I don't like squash so much. Maybe less zucchini. I don't really want that in every meal, More greens. It's like keto diet is about green vegetables, It's about, all kinds of vegetables. But like the first week, there was nothing green. Because it's a vegetable, mostly 75% vegetable diet. Why are my vegetables orange and red? There's like no green vegetables at all. Cauliflower, like one meal only had cauliflower in it. And I'm like, well, why is there no greens? So I just said, is it possible to have a little bit more greens? And the following week, it was all beets. So much beets that I was starting to get sick. You're not supposed to have too many beets. They have too much potassium, and it started giving my heart palpitations. And it's like 3 or 4. And the thing is, when you go on the keto diet, vegetables have naturally occurring potassium, like so much potassium that by the end of the first month, you're adding a whole ton of salt because you have to balance the potassium out. So I don't know. I mean, I can't say definitively that these people poisoned me, but I'm feeling really freaking lousy today. My aura was gray. I knew that it was very possible I was going to die today, and I've had this before. 2 times before when this happened, when my aura got extremely gray. One time I ended up dead on arrival in the emergency room, and another time I died in my husband's arms and I went and met God. Had a near-death experience, which was awesome, but it's like freaking weird and it's scary, and I don't know. I mean, this was just, maybe she did nothing wrong and maybe those really weren't organ meats, but my higher guidance made me see it that way, and that it might be poisonous for me. I did muscle testing 3 times, and the answer I got again and again was that it was muscle poisoning. It was, see, now I'm like a little bit out of it. The muscle testing said that it was definitely poisonous, and further muscle testing later in the evening showed me that it was on purpose. The passive-aggressive thing, Like when I first asked the very first week, when will you deliver the food? And they said, here are time slots. And I said, okay, then deliver it at 2:30 in the afternoon so that you're not delivering it after dark, and that, And they said, okay, that would be great. And they didn't show up until 7:30 at night. So I sat here waiting for 5 hours. So from the get-go, they've been passive-aggressive. And the following week, they didn't even bother responding to us until like 8:30 at night. And I think they delivered the meals about 9 or 9:30. And we were like, what the hell? Like, like you can't be consistent even with like the basicest of, the delivery time, And so there have been problems with this whole thing from the beginning, but I never dreamed that just having the time wrong, okay, I forgive very easily and I make excuses for people when maybe there shouldn't be. But I gave them a lot of leeway, and now I feel like really, really sick. My urine has a slightly green tint to it. Sorry if that's TMI for you guys, but I'm in a bad way right now. we'll see. It takes 3 days to die from this kind of poisoning. If they put enough in to actually kill me. I don't think they did. And and again, it could have just been in the food, like in the cabbage. Both meals I had was carrots and cabbage, and it was like pre-shredded carrots. So it's possible. Might have been something in the package. I mean, it wasn't bad. It wasn't moldy. Nothing like that. It was fresh vegetables, but had absolutely no flavor to it when I ate it. And I thought, that's odd. Usually carrots actually have a flavor. But I just thought maybe it's just me, and added more salt and kept going, kept eating. I was hungry. My son, thank God, this morning went out and bought me pan de yuca and yogurt today. So my favorite meals, pan de yuca, it's low carb. It's made of tapioca flour and mozzarella cheese. So it's high in fat and low in carbs, which is perfect for keto. And so I've been doing that, but I mean, I feel really weird. I laid down about 9:30 and I woke up at, now it's 1:36. I woke up about 1 a.m. And I set my alarm for like a half hour or maybe an hour, thinking I'd get it out and, get my show out on time. But there's no way. I just slept right through the alarm. I knew I had to leave my body, and my higher guidance tells me that while my mind was dreaming, I left my body, and I've been fixing this from a different dimension. And I've been told that now I'm not going to die from it, that I'm actually going to be okay, but I have to continue to fix it all night. I don't know what I'm doing when I'm out of my body, but apparently I'm hopping to different timelines. I'm getting different information, at least in my mind, and then my spirit is going off and just I'm fixing myself from the top down, from higher dimensions on down. But I mean, I woke up with absolutely, all of my limbs were swollen, my neck was swollen, my brain was swollen, I had a massive headache. I wasn't able to function or think. I was trying to have a conversation with my son, and I kept falling asleep in the middle of the conversation. I just, my eyes kept shutting. After 8 hours sleep, I'm never like that, and my body was just absolutely achy. And the first thing I thought of was well, shit, this is radiator poisoning. This is radiator fluid. And so here I'm slurring my words a little bit even still. And so I don't know if one or both of them decided, hey, let's teach her a lesson, how dare she complain. And I also had made arrangements prior. I said, look, I will make arrangements for my week if you don't accept payment on the first, I get paid on the 1st, which is Tuesday, and I won't have the money for the food. So if you don't want to deliver it this week, I understand. We could do it next week. Not a problem. It will resume. And they said, no, it's okay. We'll deliver the food, and then you pay the next day. And I said, okay, that'd be great. And that would be great. And I wonder now if it wasn't even that. If that was that the reason they would do this to me. Or, again, I have no real evidence they did it, but muscle testing keeps saying that, yeah, they did it. I mean, it could be a chaos demon in around me that's making me see things that aren't there, or muscle test wrong. I don't know. I am wearing an amulet that I got locally that gets rid of negative spirits to keep me protected and safe. And then I added my own magic to it to keep myself protected and safe. So, I'm probably going to wear that through the night. I think you guys could probably tell I'm really freaking out of it. feeling weird and shaky, and my nervous system is just like, I'm just weird. It's just, I feel weird. Not weird in a good way. I don't know. It's very, very weird. Anyway, and the thing is, you think, oh, well, maybe it's just the Ascension symptoms. You know, it's been really rough the past few days. But usually if it's that, my son and I are both like out of it. And I asked my higher guidance, and Ascension symptom scale today is 96. It's pretty low as far as that is concerned. Schumann resonance news out of disclosure. News.it. They only have the evening report at 1700, and it says, very light activity during the central part of the day. The only significant peak reached 26 hertz. It's like, okay, that's hardly anything. Well, we have to go to the other cities, and there's some high numbers over here. So actually, they're very high numbers. So there's that. Yesterday, let's see, at 1500. Hulului, South Africa was at 324. I do feel the need to mention that because they do this throughout the whole day, and then by the time I do my report, we only have 4 hours to go on, and then tomorrow the rest of the report will be there. So that's really high for Hulului, and Alberta, Canada was only at 228 when in South Africa, their Schumann resonance frequency was at 324. That was yesterday at 15 o'clock, which I guess is 3 in the afternoon. All right, so we're going to go, and then there was like a little dip right at midnight as far as Hulului. And they went down to 268 by midnight, and then started to go back up by 4 a.m., and they were at 276 hertz frequency. So I'm going a little bit ass backwards here with Hulului first instead of last, but I was interested when I saw these numbers. All right, so at midnight in California, they started off at 123 hertz frequency, and they went to 122. So by 4 a.m., so not a whole lot of movement. And in Hofuf, Saudi Arabia, they started off at 104 hertz frequency, and they went down to 101 by 4 a.m. Lithuania saw values of 133 at midnight, and they went to 132, only one. The movements, they look like just straight lines across the page right now. So, and that was in Lithuania. But in Alberta, Canada, they started off at 209 and just went to 208. So everyone went down just by one. Except for Hulului. But in Northland, New Zealand, they were at 157 hertz frequency at midnight and went to 156. So everyone just went down one. But Hulului went again from 268 up to 276. You guys, I can't even get this acrid, this horrible, it's almost like a battery acid flavor in my mouth. It's like an acrid, it's just this horrible, bitter flavor in my mouth. I mean, I told my son, he's like, did you even brush your teeth today? I'm like, well, only 4 or 5 times. I'm a Virgo. I've been brushing my tongue. I've been brushing my teeth, trying to get this horrible flavor out of my mouth. And it's so yuck. I don't know. And he's like, are you drinking enough water? Yeah, I've been drinking a lot of water. And this is the second time, an hour ago, is the second time in the past 24 hours that I've drank apple cider vinegar in water, that has B vitamins in it and helps you to release water weight. Because the water weight was so bad, like I couldn't turn my neck when I woke up. And my brain was swollen, and my internal organs were swollen, and my hands and feet and legs and arms were swollen. I swear to God, I know I've been poisoned. It just... Where are my royal taste testers when I need them? See, now I see the value in that, even though, obviously, I would feel bad if I was poisoned and the royal taste tester fell face first into her porridge. I mean, I see why royalty did this, but seeing the value in something that's so horrible, but yeah, I'm kidding, of course, but I don't know, man. I mean, I hope I made a mistake with these passive-aggressive people and that they would never do something like that on purpose. But I mean, how could I ever trust them again? Obviously, I cannot. So, it's crazy. I'm going to have to make my own meals from now on. I don't mind. I'm actually a good cook. It was very weird. Very, very weird. I'm inspired, though. I want to buy a crock pot and I'll make like vegetable soups and chili, and I'm very good at this stuff that I make. But I just haven't wanted to cook in a while. So I thought, oh, hey, this is perfect. Ugh. Oh my God, why do I trust people? It's like again and again, man. All right. Lesson 113. 13. Number of the death card. Yay. Yeah. All right. Lesson 113 today in A Course in Miracles. It's a review, as was yesterday and the day before. And the first part of the review is from Lesson 95. I am one self, united with my Creator. I am one self, united with my Creator. Serenity and perfect peace are mine because I am one self, completely whole, at one with all creation and with God. And the second part of the lesson today is from Lesson 96. Salvation comes from my one self. Salvation comes from my one self. From my one self, whose knowledge still remains within my mind, I see God's perfect plan for my salvation perfectly fulfilled. And on the hour is, I am one self, united with my Creator. And on the half hour, say, salvation comes from my one self. So there you have it, guys. All right, when I come back, because of what happened, I realized that, I mean, it was unpleasant and uncomfortable. It's never easy to fire somebody, right? And even though she wasn't my employee, obviously she wasn't. She has her own business. She caters people. And she told me tonight that she has 70 people all over this city and outside of the city. And good for her. I mean, we're all paying $50 a week minimum. So she's making around $20,000 per month doing this. But they made it look like, you know, we could barely keep the food on our table and we're trying to raise our child. And I've already paid out of my own pocket for these meals. You know, and it's like, yeah, I know. Well, I froze them right away. If they're good the way you say they're still good, that shouldn't be an issue. I should be able to return the meals, right? You should stand behind your work. in a way in which you're happy to take them back. Unless she doesn't trust me and thinks I'm going to do something to the food, in which case maybe she was guilty. I don't know. It's so weird. Like, I don't, but but they're trying to make it like all sad. And my son got really sad. He got like a tear in his eye. He's like, Mom, but they've got a little kid. Like, you can't do this. And I'm like, look, you're going to take the side of a stranger because they have a child. You're going to take the side of your mother, who has been sitting in bed all day, apparently poisoned. You have to decide right now, like, either to stay out of it, or if you're going to take a side, maybe take the side of your own mom. Possibly that's the way to go, right? Maybe I am crazy. Maybe she didn't poison me. But why was I in bed all day with all these symptoms? When I didn't do really much else. I did make almond cookies from almond flour that I just bought a week ago. So I know those ingredients were absolutely fresh. Everything was fine there. I didn't feel sick after eating the cookies, I don't know. It's so weird. I don't know. I hate that this happened, and I hate that I have to, like, I had to fire her, but I just feel like maybe making my own food is safer. And I think the thing, the passive aggressiveness of, and I ask what kind of salt do you use, just out of curiosity, and then they tell me, and I go, oh, that's great. That's either one of those is great. That's fine. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And then for the following 2 weeks, there's no salt in the food at all. It's like, what? Like, that's passive aggressive crap right there. I don't like that at all, And I didn't even complain about it. I just acted like I didn't notice. I acted like I didn't notice all the hairs in the food. You know what I mean? I mean, I think I was being pretty nice, but last week when I had already said, don't serve me pork, and then she served me pork immediately after I said, don't do that. That's some passive aggressive stuff. And she says, oh, there was some confusion. I don't know. I mean, the word no is a word no in French and Italian and Spanish and English, and 2 of those languages she speaks perfectly. I mean, no is no is no is no is no. No is never not no. No is always no. No pork. Am I wrong? I don't think I'm wrong. And I do think I have the right to ask for my money back or not pay for something that I'm absolutely not going to eat and cannot trust based on eating the first 2 meals. And I paid for those. Paid for the poison meals that made me literally helpless all day. It just it chaps my hide. It just chaps my hide, as they say in the South. As my granny and my grandpa would have said, my pappy and my granny. It just chaps my hide. Like, it bugs me. It's like, I made a complaint about your food. Now I've apparently been poisoned after eating your food. I mean, it doesn't seem like there's not a connection. I hate being disappointed in people. I really hate that. I want people to do their best. I always want them to be at their top of their game, on top of it. Oh, all right, well, you don't like salt? Cool. Or do you want me to have less salt, or is it fine? No, it's fine. All right, great. Communication. Oh, darn, you must have ended up with, Rodney's meal. Let me come back and change that for you immediately. Instead of, oh, I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do about it now, just next week. I'll refund your money, And then today when I just said, look, I'm going to give you the meals back because I'm not going to pay for something that made me sick. And I'll let you know if I have to go to the hospital tomorrow. I'll send you the toxicology report so you can figure out what happened. And she's like, I can't work under these conditions and I will never deliver meals to you again. I'm like, well, that's fine because I don't trust you and I don't trust your meals anymore. How can I? I'm sick all day after eating your meals. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to hurt your feelings. She got all kinds of emotional, obviously. And it's like, I don't know, in business you have to expect some attrition. You're going to lose some things. You have to expect that, if 100 people follow you, then maybe 20 might drop off on Twitter or whatever. It doesn't matter what the business is. You have to expect 30% attrition. So yeah, you get 100 people, 30 are going to stop getting the meals delivered for whatever reason. You have to expect that, and she's like, well, your instructions are hard. It's like, no, don't give me no damn river fish. It tastes disgusting. I mean, she gave me a river fish. It was so, I still had skin on it. It was gross. I was like, dude, when I said I wanted beef and chicken, that didn't mean river fish. Like, after I said, this is really good. I like having the beef and the chicken. It's really good. The following week after that, the meat was all fish for a whole week. I mean, that's passive aggressive shit right there. Like, that's just, anyway. I don't want to keep harping on it, but I mean, am I wrong? Like, I was suddenly inspired to feed you all fish for 7 nights because you said serve you beef and chicken. I mean, that's some passive aggressive shit right there. And even this morning, my son's like, I don't know, Mom, the meals were gross yesterday. They're like beef tongue. I've never seen this kind of meat in my life. And I looked at it and it was beef tongue. It's had freaking taste buds on it. And then today she's like, it's beef. Yeah, beef tongue is beef, technically. Beef liver is beef, technically. Beef kidney is beef, technically. And she's like, I don't even like organ meats. Why would I do that? I'm like, yeah, why would you? Passive aggressive. You know what? I didn't say that, but I wanted to. I was just like, dude, it's obvious. And she was really upset. And of course she's going to be upset. And I was very calm. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but I'm really sick today. Right after eating your meals. I don't know what was in them. She's like, well, they're fresh. I'm like, fresh radiator fluid? I didn't say that, but I was just like, dude, it's like, I can't even with that anymore. But anyway, when I come back, I'm going to talk about why it's important to always have your own back. I could have just continued to receive the meals or say, I don't need them anymore. I'm done with the diet or whatever. But, and I could have just eaten my way through these meals. But if what my suspicion is confirmed, then I would have been dead within a week, right? If it's true, if they put it in every meal. Maybe they just did a little bit once. Teach me a lesson. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a freaking paranoid fool and that didn't happen at all. But then why am I sick all day? I mean, I didn't purposely want to be sick. In fact, my plan, because the day I got paid, my plan was to go to the mall and do a little bit of grocery shopping. I needed a few groceries. I wasn't able to even get out of bed today. I don't even remember looking out the window. And you guys know I'm always like a cloud watcher. My porn is cloud porn, baby. I put it on my Instagram and Facebook all the time. It's all I do is watch the clouds. It's not all I do. I mean, I do my work, my daily work, but I'm always watching outside. I'm always looking. I had my curtains open. I don't remember even looking outside once. I don't really remember being coherent most of the day. Not at all like me. Usually I sleep 4 or 5 hours and wake up and have to force myself to sleep an extra hour. And I slept 8 hours and I was so out of it. Like, what? And I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to come right back. And when I come back, I am going to talk about being strong and having your own back. Because whether it's an instance like what I just went through in the past 24 hours or in other situations, like, you really need to have your own back. So we're going to talk about that when I come right back. Right after these messages. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's high time you did. It is the absolute easiest way to make a podcast. First of all, it's absolutely free. Second of all, they have creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. You guys have known that I've been doing this for 8 months using the Anchor.fm app right on my cell phone, and I have done it everywhere, right? I have recorded this in my living room, my bedroom, little cafes in Quito, Ecuador, all over Cuenca. It's so absolutely easy to make your podcast, and editing is just a snap. Anchor also will distribute your podcast for you, and it took me about 2.5 months to become syndicated, and now I'm available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more, and so can you. You can make money from your podcast also, and there's no minimum requirement. You get paid from your very first listener. It is everything that you need to make a podcast all in one place. So please, if you are interested in making a podcast of your very own, do not hesitate to start with Anchor. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today. Metaphysical Soul Speak is run on sponsors and listener support. This means listeners like you. If you are so inclined to support my efforts and my little podcast, please visit me at anchor.fm/metaphysical and pledge an amount of your choosing today. Thank you. I got my own back. Maya Angelou. She said that. It's important to have your own back. Sonia Parker says, have your own back. Look out for yourself. Protect yourself from people that don't value you or respect you. It's important to have your own back. You're born alone and naked in this world, and you die. Maybe naked, I don't know. I don't know how we're all going to die, but you die alone. Born alone, die alone in this world. And you don't go through the tunnel holding hands with your 10 best friends. Born alone, die alone. Go through the tunnel alone. So it's important to have your own back. And what does that mean? It means you have to keep your integrity in and of yourself. You have to be able to trust yourself. And when the time comes, defend yourself. And sometimes you have to go on the offensive. Captain Kirk, James T. Kirk, T standing for Tiberius, By the way, the name Tiberius has come up a lot in the past week for me. And the name Tegan has come up like 5 or 6 times for me in the past week. I don't know what that means, but very weird, right? Tegan and Tiberius. Well, if I ever have twins, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to ever have a pregnancy again. But Tegan and Tiberius, those are the names that keep coming up. But what does it mean to have your own back? I mean, I was going to say, first of all, the Captain Kirk quote. He says, the best defense is a strong offense, and I plan to start offending right now. Best quote ever. I used to watch Star Trek late at night and write down the quotes. I mean, really good quotes from that show. But, amazing. God, like the cheesiest sets, and sometimes the costumes are really cheesy, but some of the best writing ever. That's why that has endured for so long. But what does it mean to have your own back? It's standing up for yourself, protecting your mind and your emotions and your body and your spiritual beliefs. And it's standing up for what you believe in, even if you're the only one. I'm going to read you guys some more quotes. Okay. This one I relate to. I mean, you know, if you're a man, you might not relate as much to this, but maybe you do. Just insert the word man, okay? I am a strong woman. Everything that's hit me in life, I've dealt with on my own. I've cried myself to sleep, picked myself back up, and wiped my own tears. I've grown from things meant to break me. I get stronger by the day, and I have God to thank for that. And that just, it looks like it's a quote from Reason Joss Schmitz. I relate to that one quite a bit. Here's a good one. How to forgive. Forgiveness is taking the knife out of your own back and not using it to hurt anyone else, no matter how they hurt you. I mean, that's pretty powerful, right? Another way you to have your own back is let no one discourage your ambitious attitude. You don't need a fan club to achieve your goals. Be your own motivation. Have your own back. You know, having your own back it's really important. I like this one. Throw me to the wolves and I'll come back leading the pack. It's like pretty cool, right? You know who's going to give you everything? Yourself. That was a pretty good one. I liked that. Diana von Furstenberg said that. Sonia Parker also said, be your own best friend. Have your own back. Fight for yourself. Love yourself. Be willing to do everything you can to make yourself happy. And here's another one I found from cutthroathippiegang.wordpress.com. They wrote, if nobody got me, I got me. Have your own back. Winston Churchill said, character may be manifested in the great moments, but it's made in the small ones. And that's true. You have to have your back in the smallest of moments. Here's another positive quote I found. Exist on your own terms. That is all. You know? Here's another one. I've been stabbed in the back by those I needed most. I've been lied to by those I love. And I felt alone when I couldn't afford to be. But at the end of the day, I had to learn to be my own best friend. Because there's going to be days where no one is going to be there for me but myself. Have your own back. I like this one too. J.M. Storm says, she is a beautiful piece of broken pottery put back together by her own hands, and a critical world judges her for the cracks while missing the beauty of how she made herself whole again. I mean, having your own back, it's about being there for yourself, showing up for yourself every day. T. Harvecker said, show up for yourself every day. Don't make excuses. Don't let your moods cost you a fortune. Your moods will cost you a fortune, he said. Just don't, if you have to do something and it's painful or upsetting, but it must be done, don't sit around and cry about it and not do it because you're afraid. You have to have your own back. You got to show up for yourself every day. Like me telling this woman some hard words. And I wasn't harsh with her, and I wasn't mean, and I wasn't angry. I just was like, I don't trust the food now. I ate the food. I got sick. I don't trust it now. Nothing you're going to tell me is going to make me want to just race right on out and get more of this food and eat it. Because I've been sick all day. And I said, I don't know what it is, but I think it was the food is all I ate. So, hey. And I apologized to her. I actually wrote her an email after. I'm like, look, I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. I'm not trying to hurt your feelings here. But I don't trust the food. It's just like when the trust has been gone. And she's like, well, I'm never going to deliver meals to you. I'm like, well, good. Because I don't trust the food anymore. I was like, well, that's okay. I don't want to have it anymore. It's fine. I'll make my own meals. It's like the trust is gone, Here's Henry Wadsworth Longfellow says, every man has his secret sorrows, which the world knows not. And oftentimes we call a man cold when he is only sad. Yeah, it's true. Also, you might not let your moods cost you a fortune. And people might call you cold, but maybe you're just sad because you are the only one that has your own back. And sometimes you are standing up against the world. But stand you must. You have to speak your truth, live your truth, follow your heart, even if everyone tells you, it'll never work or whatever. When I was younger, I wanted to be an artist and I wanted to go to art school, and I had my heart and dreams set on going to art school, and everybody told me, don't do it. You'll never make any money. The only rich artist is a dead one. And I was 100% discouraged from everybody in my life. I didn't go to art school. I'm still making art, though. I regret not going to art school, and when I called art school just a few years ago, I'm still thinking about it, like, hey, maybe I could look into it now. Maybe I will have my own back finally, So I called them and they're like, well, we need you to bring in like 20 pieces of art And I'm like, oh my God, I don't have a body of art. This is crazy. And they told me all the sizes of the canvases. They said, if you don't have it, you need to bring it in. Bring your art in. And I'm like, all right. It was just, and I just was like, okay. I don't think I'm going to do that right now. I was having, my husband had just died, and I was had just gotten a place to live. My kids and I had been homeless for 3 weeks. We were barely making ends meet, and now I'm going to have to buy like an 8 by 10 foot canvas. This enormous canvas. It wasn't that much. I think they said like a 3 foot by 2 foot canvas and a 6 foot by 5 foot canvas or something. It was like ridiculously large canvases, and we lived in a bedroom together. Like, this isn't going to work out for me right now. I'm going to have to wait. Still, if I ever do it, I don't know if I will, but I'm making art still. I mean, I'm making practical art. I'm painting desks and stools and chairs, and I have crazy art. I put quotes all over everything, and I make different patterns and different pieces of the furniture, and I treat every surface like it's its own canvas and completely independent of the rest of the piece. So my art is crazy. It looks like Mary Englebright's art, if you're familiar with Mary Englebright. And sometimes I paint like fairies and stuff like that, but sometimes just flowers. And anyway, but I have my own art, my own style, and it's eclectic and strange and stripes and polka dots and kind of folk arty, some of it. And sometimes I do more, traditional stuff, but I didn't have my own back then, and I feel like I could have. I think I should have. And then I kind of drifted through college for a couple years before I came up with, well, I'll get my degree in psychology. My parents screwed me up. Maybe my degree in psychology will unscrew me. So I did that, and people started coming to me for advice. I asked the universe, I'm like, okay, show me what I need to do in my life. And all of a sudden, everyone and their uncle, they were coming to me for advice. I'd be sitting on the bus by myself. People walk up and start telling me their sorrows and crying, and I'm like, oh, maybe I need to be a counselor. So I don't regret it. I got my degree in psychology, and that was cool. Got my degree further after that. I got my degree in hypnotherapy, certified clinical hypnotherapy, and then I went and got my ordained ministership, and then my doctorate of divinity. So I don't regret it, and I like that I was a counselor, and I'm a coach, and I do all that now still, but not actively like I should be. But sometimes I wonder, should I have had my own back then? Should I have stood up and said, no, look, I think I've got an ability and an eye for art, and I think I want to learn to explore that part of myself. And instead I went into poetry, and I was a featured poet around Los Angeles for years. I went to all the coffee houses and read my poetry out loud in front of everybody, and it was so stressful and embarrassing to be in front of everyone, but I saw the way that people responded to my work, and even though I'm an introvert, I really enjoyed that they connected. It made me feel like I'm connecting with people when I don't have to talk to them directly. I just have to perform on a stage, and I could scurry off into my own corner and cry because I was so embarrassed, later, but which I did several times. But and I wonder how my life would have been different if I had had my own back 100% of the time. My own mother gave me away on the day I was born. Even my own mother did not have my own back on the day that I was born. She gave me to strangers. And those strangers ended up being really sweet people. Thank you, God. and I consider them my parents. They're good people. But sometimes good people get divorced, and so then my step-parents did not have my back. Especially my stepmother did not have my back. In fact, she beat me pretty regularly, pretty much on the regular. And I was abused as a kid, and my dad somehow was oddly absent every time this happened. And I always wondered if he knew or didn't know it was happening. When suddenly no one had my back. And I had to have my own back. And so it's important, even if you've not been through all this really horrible, trauma, it's still important to have your own back, because not everyone around you is always going to have your back. If you come from a good, solid, strong family where they always had your back, then you've learned that you're worth it. You're worthwhile. But most people that grew up with broken parents, and then they became parents instead of fixing themselves first, they didn't teach you how to have your own back, So it's something that you have to learn. You have to learn to live by your wits. I have a friend that his story is one of the saddest stories I've ever heard in my life. I can tell it to you. You're probably going to cry, because this story is just phenomenally sad. And he learned to have his own back, though. So it's an appropriate story. So my friend, he picked his own name, Justin, because he didn't really remember his own name. He was about 3 years old when his parents kissed him goodbye, and they said they'll be back in the afternoon. They were hit by a drunk driver and killed. His uncle had to move in with him and take care of him. And one day his uncle said, "Here's some money. Can you go down to the corner store and buy me some cigarettes?" So Justin believed his uncle, and they went down to the corner store to buy some cigarettes. And when he came back, the house was locked up and his uncle was gone. He's about 4 years old, I think. Maybe he's about 5. His uncle and him, they lived together about a year and a half or something. So the house is locked up, and he couldn't get back in. He didn't have his key. So he sat there on the porch, didn't know what to do. He didn't know where his uncle went. Why isn't he coming back? This kid's already traumatized because his parents didn't come back one day and they were dead. So he's scared, obviously. And several hours go by, and he just sat there on the porch, just scared, out of his wits. And up rolls a U-Haul van. And they said, "Hey kid, we're moving in. This is our house now. We just bought it. You need to go." And he's like, "Well, I'm waiting for my uncle. I live here. This is my house." They're like, "No kid, we just bought this house. This isn't your house. You need to go." And he's like, "What?" And that's how he found out he was, at the tender age of 5 years old, homeless. He had to learn by living on the streets as a child how to have his own back. So he didn't really know what the hell to do. He just started walking around the neighborhood. He was in Chicago. He knew that he was Egyptian and that his parents were Muslim. He couldn't remember their names. And he was so traumatized he couldn't remember his own name. But all he knew was that that they had been Muslim, and he was Egyptian originally, but he was born in the U.S., and so he's Egyptian American, and that's all he knew. He didn't have any ID. He didn't even remember his own last name. He just walked around until he found an alleyway behind a restaurant where the food was really good. He remembered eating in the restaurant with his parents, so when they would throw the food out, he would hide behind the garbage cans. And when people didn't finish what was on their plates and they threw that food away, he he would eat that food from the trash, other people's throwaways. And that's the first step to having his own back. Then he would hide. He made a shelter for himself, and that's how he had his own back, right? And one day he got a notion. Well, eventually they caught him, and so they started feeding him food from the kitchen without having other people pick through it first. So at least he had that for a while, but they still didn't take him in, No one gave him shelter. And he met a kid. He didn't even remember his own name. And he met this kid, and this kid's like, I'm going to name you Justin. You'll be my little brother. And the kid was like 12 and took him under his wing and took care of him for a while. And the kid had his back for a while. But like everything, it came to an end, and he ended up having to have his own back, only, on his own again. And eventually he told me a story where he walked all the way to New York City. He walked all the way to New York City. What else was he going to do? He had nothing else. He just kept walking and walking and walking, and people would feed him on the way, and he had his own back, but God provided. The universe did provide for him. And he got to New York City, and it was very cold. He didn't realize it was going to be snowing there, and he was scared. And he'd hide under the stairs in a back alley, again, by another restaurant. And this guy caught him and was very angry. What are you doing? Stealing from my restaurant. Go around the front and order. Pay for my food. Very angry, And Justin said, look, I don't have any money, and I don't know what to do. And he's like, well, then you're going to work for your living. And the guy took him in and ended up giving him a dishwasher job and taught him how to cook and taught him everything he knows. And now Justin owns a restaurant in Las Vegas. In fact, they moved together to Las Vegas, and this guy became like a father to him and helped him get his IDs and his passports and took him to Egypt so he could learn about his own culture, his original parents' culture. And he lives in Las Vegas now. And if anyone has ever had his own back, it's my friend Justin. And he knows he could change his name at a moment's notice. If someone bothers him, he changes his name. He's like, he has no attachment to the name. He doesn't care. But he always has his own back. He always protects himself. And this is an extreme case. It's so sad, right? But it turned out happy. When the man that took him under his wing died, he inherited all of his money and the restaurant. His uncle left him in Chicago to die on his own at 5 years old. And now he's almost 40 years old, and he's gorgeous. He's one of the most beautiful people physically I've ever seen. He looks like a Greek god. Blue eyes. He's like 6'4" or something. He's huge. He's perfect. He's like a bodybuilder. He's huge, solid muscle, gorgeous man. He's one of the sweetest people in the world. In spite of having to go through such a rough life early on. But he learned how to have his own back. And so it's important. I feel like we all need to learn this lesson eventually, right? And the only way that we're going to learn it is when we're betrayed. Or when life throws us massive curveballs where we're like, holy crap. The first time your parents turn you down or disappoint you. And the first time they say, sorry, we're going on a cruise. We're not going to give you that extra $100 you need for your rent or for food, if that's ever happened to you. I didn't ask my parents for money. I left. In fact, I asked them, I said, the biggest gift you can give me is a letter saying that we are estranged and that you don't pay a dime for my education. Because that way I will be able to pay for myself to go through college. My dad, when I was 16, he said, when I was about to turn 16, he said, oh, by the way, I know you're turning 16. Don't you expect for a damn second I'm going to buy you your own car. We're not made of money. I heard that one a lot. If you were, give me an arm and a leg, Dad. But you know, we're not making money, you know. Like, I never said we were. I don't want my own car. And he's like, why not? You're weird. You're weird, kid. I go, well, because it's a lot of responsibility. You have to check all the fluids and learn about car stuff that's boring to me. And I have to pay for insurance and have to pay for gas. And it's just a lot of upkeep and maintenance. So I don't really give a crap if I have a car or not. I'm going to enjoy my childhood while I still have a childhood. My dad thought I was just weird. And I didn't get my first car till I was 19. And my boyfriend bought it for me for my birthday. It was a $400 car, and it was every bit a $400 car. It was held together by rust. It was missing a window. It stalled at every few minutes. I told you guys a story the other day about it stalling in front of the school. It was a really crappy car. I was better off just having a bicycle, a really kick-ass, amazing bicycle that I preferred the bicycle to the car. The car had a weird smell to it. It was covered in dog hair. It was like a ridiculously bad car. But it was cool having a car that was fun, but it was ridiculously bad. But, so I found a couple articles online, and, you know, this person's talking about their parents and how their mother wouldn't stand up for themselves, and like it affected her, you know, why everyone should stand up for themselves on medium.com by Erica Chowdhury. I'm going to read this article to you guys. When we're young, parents teach us what's right and wrong. When building a sandcastle with your friends, something goes wrong, the parents will sort it out. Later, we go to school. I guess that means when you get into a fight. I built sandcastles with my friends, but I never got into fights. Actually, with Tommy Schellebarger, I got into fights, but my other friends, not so much. It's like, okay, you want it that way? All right. We could do it your way. Maybe I capitulated to other people and I didn't stand up for myself back then, possibly. I don't know. Maybe I just wanted to keep the peace, and it's not really worth it, you know, most of the time to fight. But anyway, it says, later we go to school and learn for ourselves the unfairness that exists. Some kids get away with a murder and others get caught for doing something slightly incorrect. Yeah, that's true. We learn that standing up for yourself matters. Otherwise, bullying might be something that they'll have to deal with. Bullying is bad. Sounds like this person has English as a second language, so please forgive the language. I'm not reading it wrong. It's not 100% correct here. Bullying is bad. You're either the kid who's doing the bullying or you're a kid experiencing the bullying. No one can escape bullying, sadly. I wish bullying didn't exist in the world, but it does. Everything I am today is because of the experiences I had and my parents. Okay. When growing up, everyone will have moments in life when they'll stand up for themselves. Learning to stand up for yourself is one of the greatest lessons anyone can learn. It's important to stand up for yourself, not only to avoid the bullying at school, but also it's useful later in life. My mom didn't stand up for herself. She would go home and think and worry about the unfairness of things, but she wouldn't voice it out, however. She bottled it up. Imagine a volcano not being able to burst out. And when eventually it does, it's a storm of a lifetime. It's important to be able to communicate things through. However, not many people have communication skills to be transparent when an issue arises. I'm like having to add letters like S at the end of arise. When an issue arise. Okay, sorry. Kindness always pays. Everyone should be nice to each other. When one opens their heart and others shit on it, that's when it's the time to learn to stand up for yourself and communicate. The best experience I've ever seen is working at a restaurant. See, again with the food, this is like a theme for the evening. I was in my early teens. I learned the importance of being able to express yourself. If you don't say what's going on, you don't have conversations about it, It's a disaster waiting to happen. I didn't tell the owner that an order didn't arrive and we lost so much money as a result. I was in the wrong and I was told off. The owner had the right, and when the payday came, well, I didn't get paid. The owner said he had taken the money to cover the loss because it was my fault. I had to pay for it. I should have stood up for myself then. Instead, I quit. I didn't confront him. I was sulking. I cried. Instead of complaining, sulking and crying, I should have done something about it. Accept what's reasonable. Don't put up with something that isn't reasonable. I've had this type of experience a few times until I stood up for myself. Life is funny this way. Things keep on reoccurring until I learn from it. I am the type of person that would rather suffer silently than cause an argument. See, I relate to that. I hate confrontation. Exactly, right? However, I cannot go through life not having a confrontation and not have a conversation. People will take a piss out of you unless you stop it. I used to have a series of bosses that would complain about my work no matter what I did. My work was good. I kept on having mean bosses until I said no. I had to stand up for myself. If people in an organization are mean, that's even a better reason for standing up, because you might save someone else from a bad experience. It's so scary, and trust me, if you're like me, it's very uncomfortable to stand up for yourself at first, because I'm not used to doing that. Every time I do it, it feels like I'm in the wrong. However, I'm being abused by somebody. So how wrong is that to think it? Right? Yeah, I agree with that. The only way I learned to stand up is to stand up. When it's wrong, it's wrong. Simple as that, and stick to it. One has to learn to say no and be okay with it. People don't like people who stand up for themselves. I've learned that. It's important to stand up for yourself, because if something is wrong, it should be known and brought to the light. It's good for the soul, because no one should live the wrong. Standing up to anything that's wrong is showing strength in the character. By doing so, creating a better life for yourself and others. That was Erica Chaudhary. I don't know where she's from. She didn't say. I have a feeling that she's from India but living in London. It doesn't say anything about that there, but it's the energy I'm getting while I'm reading this. So I understand. I mean, it is hard to have your own back, but I'm going to go over a few things from bustle.com about why to have your own back. All right, so I found an article from nataliebacon.com, and she has this amazing article. Do you have your own back? Okay, so let's see here. Let's scroll down a little bit. She's saying that basically when you beat yourself up and then you feel bad about it, it's like super counterproductive, right? And she says, you're going to start having your own back as of today. I'll show you exactly how to do it and why it's so important. Okay, she even has a podcast episode called Having Your Own Back, which I haven't listened to yet, but I bet it's awesome. So she says that sometimes there's like a pessimistic voice that's living in your head and tells you your body isn't okay, or there's something wrong with you, or that you're different, and it's just negative. So she says it's time to take the power back from that pessimistic voice. And the way that she describes not having your own back is this. Not having your own back means doubting yourself, talking negatively to yourself, and not supporting you. It sounds like telling yourself that what you're doing is wrong. The crazy thing is we don't do this to other people that we love. We only do this to ourselves. Whenever a girlfriend says something negative about herself, we'll stop her, right? Hey, don't say those negative things. That we do that. Hey, oh, that's not fair. Be fair to yourself. Don't be mean to yourself, we say. And this is me saying this part, it's not from Natalie Bacon. But it's true, right? I mean, we say that like, oh, no, yeah, don't treat yourself mean. You deserve better. You deserve space and grace, You need to hold space for yourself. Be nice. Be your own best friend, right? But then when it comes to ourselves, do we do that? Not always. She says, we'll say negative things about ourselves all the time. But if we're going to back up the people we love, the person we need to start with is ourselves. That's true. I think that standing up for yourself and having your own back is about loving yourself. Absolutely. So she says, Natalie Bacon says, stop the cycle of beating yourself up. The cycle of beating yourself up is not useful ever. It doesn't help you. Beating yourself up hurts you. It's kind of like punching yourself in the face. Where does this negative pattern come up for you? Where do you struggle to have a high opinion of yourself? To be honest, it might take a minute to catch these thoughts, since they might not even be out of the ordinary for you. Be curious and write down all your thoughts for an entire day. That's her advice. And then she says, look in all the different categories. Eating. What's your relationship with food? Again with the food. How's your relationship with food, and how is your relationship with your body? Drinking. What reasons do you like to drink, and when do you tend to overdrink? I think she means alcohol there. Relationships. How are your relationships in your life? Are they lifting you up or bringing you down? Money. Do you feel like you're making enough? Do you have a good relationship with money? Yeah, that's a good question, honestly. Are you a spender, and then you beat yourself up for spending, too much? And this will help you bring awareness to whether or not you have your own back. And it can be eye-opening. So, let's see. She says, how you talk to yourself and what you think about yourself is so important, because your opinion of yourself determines how you feel, and that determines how you act, and that determines your results. So she says there's a CTFAR model. The thought, something is wrong with me. Feeling, shame. Action, behaving in a way that something is wrong, or behaving in a way that's wrong. Result, more evidence to support your thought that something is wrong with you. So what you believe always creates the results in your life. And she's a coach, and she does. She's talking about there's a thing here about marital problems. She's coaching some people through. Anyway, what she says is, you have to become aware of what you're thinking and ask yourself, is this actually true? And you know what? Actually, Joe Vitale does say this, Dr. Joe Vitale. He says, if you have a thought about yourself and you catch it, it's important to say, yeah, but is that true? And then you answer yourself, and then, yeah, but is that true? Is that true? Is that true? Is that really true? And just keep asking yourself that until you get to the point where you realize, oh, it's probably not true at all, actually. She says that acceptance might be working against you if you accept that you hate yourself. Hate and self-loathing is a choice, right? But if you accept that about yourself, that's when acceptance can work against you. Wishing you're different than you are, that's a sneaky way of thinking there's something wrong with you, that you should be better. There's absolutely nothing wrong with you, she writes. There's nothing about you that's worth hating or not appreciating. There's so much to love about you and me and everyone. So let's start right now. So this is what she says. What does guilt and shame have to do with having your own back? So what about when you do something wrong or you make a mistake? Should you feel bad about yourself then? Maybe. But take a look at guilt and shame will help you right here. Guilt means, well, I did something wrong. And then contrast that with shame, where you feel shame means basically, I am wrong, right? And guilt is a useful emotion because it helps you not to be wrong in the future, right? But she says an example of feeling guilty would be going into debt to buy a car and deciding you made a financial mistake. And so you feel the emotion of guilt. But shame is a whole different beast, she writes. The feeling of shame comes from when you think you are wrong. An example of feeling shame would be feeling less than because of your student loan debt, which is totally unnecessary. So when you do something that you decide is wrong or make a mistake, you want to feel guilty about it, so you don't do it again. But you have to feel very aware, be very careful whether you're feeling game or shilt, damn it, guilt or shame. Choose the emotion on purpose. Don't be at the mercy of your emotions. You always have a choice in how you feel. Being proud of yourself. Now, to start having your own back, she writes, take a walk down memory lane and think about what you have accomplished in your life. Doesn't have to be the big stuff. It includes the little stuff too. If you've ever broken up with a guy because, well, this is kind of heteronormative and written for women, but if you're a man, if you're broken up with someone, we'll say, because you weren't being treated the way you deserve, you should be proud that you were looking out for yourself, because we've all been there. Right, so basically if you've been with a toxic person and you break up with them because of it, look for reasons, be proud of yourself. Write them down. You are the most amazing, important person who needs to know these things because it's you. Train your brain to be proud of yourself. Ask yourself all the reasons that you have to be proud. And don't be shy to come up with a lot of answers. That's okay. No one's going to see the list but you anyway, right? So it's weird because here's the thing, she says, we're either super proud of ourselves or hating ourselves. And we don't have to do this. We have to make a choice to love ourselves and always have our own back. Be proud of yourself. It doesn't mean that you're thinking you're better than everyone else. You can be proud of yourself and other people at the same time. So go out and make yourself proud. Making an effort is something to be proud of, even if you didn't achieve the results that you wanted. Just trying to attempt it, okay? Practice confidence. Confidence is a state of being certain and trusting in yourself. Confidence feels amazing. Confidence inspires action. When you take action from confidence, you create momentum and movement in your life. And it's worth taking the time to practice feeling confident because the results are incredible. It's so easy to think that confidence comes from something external, but it's not true. It comes from within you, Natalie Bacon writes. She says confidence comes from your thinking, and if you struggle with confidence, it just means you haven't wired your brain to think thoughts that generate the feelings of confidence yet. Okay? So when you act from fear, it means that you're trying to have control, and that's obviously not confidence. But when you're confident, you don't need to control your environment, you just flow with it. So basically when you're in the flow, and you need to stop fear dead in its tracks, replace it with confidence anytime you begin to doubt yourself. The key to confidence is to be willing to feel any negative emotion and allow it to be, just flow with it, right? So if you're willing to feel all your emotions, you'll take massive action to create the life you want because you're willing to experience failure or fear. Without the willingness, you won't take action and you can be stuck where you are. So obviously feel the emotions, but don't beat yourself up and don't feel shame and don't feel that you're unworthy. Just experience the emotions and then move on. Okay. So it says that, what else here? Confidence is a feeling of I'm amazing and you're amazing. And this feeling never, ever gets old. When you're arrogant, you think, I'm great and you're not. Okay, so arrogance is different than confidence. Confidence is that we're both amazing. We both have different things we're interested in, things that we do, things we're good at. So we both deserve to feel good about ourselves, right? So 3 steps to practice having your own back, okay? Feeling proud of who you are and being confident in yourself and recognizing your own worth even when you do make mistakes. So what? You made a mistake. Everyone makes mistakes, right? Still have your own back. There's always opportunities to treat yourself with love and respect. So here are the 3 steps you can take now to practice having your own back. Number 1, speak to yourself with respect. Treat yourself with love. Identify the moments that make you feel shameful Greet them with love instead of adding on to the feeling with hurtful words. I used to waste so much time being down on myself for having an extra glass of Prosecco on a given night out. That's what she writes. I have no idea what the hell Prosecco is. I'm assuming it has something to do with alcohol. I don't know. She says, I made a decision never to feel shame about it again and to have my own back. That's true. I mean, so what? You tie one on, you have an extra beer or an extra glass of wine or extra line of Coke, whatever. Don't feel shameful about it. Just go, well, I learned from that lesson. I feel like crap today and maybe I shouldn't do that next time. That's guilt. But feeling shame is just don't feel shame. Kick that beast to the curb, right? So number 2, she says, create a love list of 100 things you love and appreciate about yourself. 100? That's almost impossible, right? It probably isn't. You could do it. You could do it. Whenever you practice thinking about yourself, you'll be good at it if you can make this list. When you practice having negative thoughts about yourself, you become better at hating yourself. So you need to stop with that. So you have to practice appreciating and loving yourself. So there'll be enough love for your cup that will overflow into all the parts and areas of your life. And so if it's hard to make this list, it just means you haven't been practicing. Yeah, keep practicing. You're going to come up with 100 things that you love and appreciate about yourself. She says, compare it to the first time you went to a hard workout class. So the next morning you woke up sore, but feeling good. The more you went, the stronger you got. So this list is like going to the mental gym for the first time. You're going to practice things and practice getting nicer and kinder and be more loving to yourself. Number 3, be prepared to be met with resistance and obstacles. When old negative habits arise, tell yourself that you deserve better. Say, no, I'm not doing this anymore. I have my own back. This practice will help you become aware of how you treat yourself. It'll shine a light on the areas of your life where you feel unworthy and therefore treat yourself as such. Here's a very important message. You are more worthy than you know in all areas of your life. Start treating yourself like you would your best friend and have your own back. That's good advice. I mean, if it's something you wouldn't say to your best friend, why say it to you? You deserve at least what your friend does. We're all equal under the sun. When you go outside, do you think that, the rich man down the street, the sun is going to shine stronger and brighter on him and it's going to retract some of the light from your head because you didn't do a business correct or you didn't have enough money or, your body isn't thin enough or in good shape enough? That's like completely ridiculous, right? The sun shines on all of our heads the same. Now, some of us have, light hair and we don't absorb the heat from the sun as much as someone with black hair or dark brown hair. I mean, us redheads, we don't, absorb the light, but the sun does shine equally on each of us. I mean, when I go to the beach, I know I get a sunburn. Sun must really love me. Yeah, I know. When the sun shines equally on all of us. If you line everyone up outside in the whole wide world, do you think the sun's going to shine bigger on Donald Trump or the Queen of England more than you and your neighbors and the poor people down the street? Do you think that the rich people get more sunlight than you? The people that are richer than you or whatever? No, of course not. People that are more important, the VIPs. You think your boss attracts more sunlight than you do? It's kind of ridiculous, right? When you think about it that way. We're all equal in the eyes of God. And that's the proof. That's the proof right there. I mean, do you think that you walk outside and the wind is tossing you every which way because it doesn't like you, but here comes a rich man, so the wind dies down for him? Or an important man or important woman. I mean, it's like ridiculous. Nature gives us all the proof we need that we're all equal in the eyes of God. You think you walk in the rain and you get wetter than other people? No, of course not. That's like stupid, right? We're all equal in the eyes of God, and we need to treat ourselves equal to how we treat others. Especially if we treat others really nicely. We need to learn how to treat ourselves better. So she says, having your back makes life better, and that's why you need to have your own back. So she says, having your back makes life better. I swear as women, we just don't do this enough. My hope is that these tools will inspire you to have your own back no matter what. It's time. So apparently her blog is for women, which is pretty cool. Natalie Bacon, she says, I'm a recovering lawyer turned financial planner turned life coach. Recovering lawyer, that's hilarious. And she helps women help high achieving women love their lives as much as they thought they would when they were kids. And she says, I've designed my dream life, and my goal is to help you design yours. So cool. I just ran across her today. Very sweet, very encouraging. And I like it. I think this is true. And the reason we have to have our own back is because it's going to make our life better in the end, right? You know, there's going to be times when you're completely alone, but you have to have your own back. You have to expect that in life. We aren't 100% with other people. Sometimes we're alone. We got to pay our own rent. We got to keep the lights on. We got to work. We got to, and even if we're wealthy, we got to still love ourselves. And a lot of wealthy people do beat themselves up. They feel guilty that they have more than other people. And if you're in that situation, I say give more to charity then. Volunteer more of your time. Give of yourself in the ways that you can to the world. Because you're going to feel a lot better about yourself. Help other people get wealthy. If that's your situation. If your situation is where you're struggling with money and you're just like, oh my God, and you're trying to pay all your bills and be responsible, and it's hard. It's always hard, and it's always purposely hard in the U.S. I'm sure of it. I'm sure the establishment makes it harder. That's why I don't live there. They do everything in their power to keep the working man down, and it's just by design. I started seeing the writing on the wall years ago, and it's easy to beat yourself up over. It's easy to go, yeah, but it's my fault for not having a better job, or it's my fault for not, I had a friend, she actually was very mean to me, and she beat me up emotionally, and she said, there's no reason why you shouldn't be making $10,000 a month. What's wrong with you? I'm like, what? $10,000 a month doing what? Hypnotherapy for a corporation? Because there's so many hypnotherapists working for corporations. I've tried. I've sent my resume to 150 corporations, actually. Just trying to create a position for myself. And I couldn't even make $2,000 a month doing that. It was really, it's one of those things that you have to have your own back. You have to have your own business, So sometimes you have to have your own back in the way in which you are no longer friends with people that will say stuff like that to you. I'm no longer friends with her, really. I haven't talked to her in years. And I am trying to improve my life in all the ways that I possibly can. And overall, I am happy-ish. I'm getting there. Some days happier than others, obviously. When I feel having been poisoned, obviously. But I know that I do have my own back. That is the one biggest lesson I've had to learn in my own life. And I hope that you can learn it in your own, because it's the only way you're going to be happy is if you consistently put in the effort to be there for yourself and show up for yourself every day and have your own back. It's so important. It's like I said, you're born in this world alone. You're going to die alone like everyone does. Even if there's someone in the room with you, you're walking down that tunnel by yourself. They can only go so far with you, right? So you always have to have your own back. There's times when you're going to be alone. And in those times, it's when you have to face your fears and your unworthiness feelings, face them head on, and turn it around, turn it into confidence. Feel the fear, do it anyway. Have the confidence to move forward in the direction of your dreams. Have your own back. Stand up for yourself. Do what's right by you. Respect yourself, and that's how you get other people to respect you automatically, when you respect yourself. You know, like what I had to do tonight was hard, but you know what? I respect myself enough to say enough is enough. I'm not going to take that anymore. I don't need to be at the mercy or at the hands of somebody else, ever. I have my own back. No one else does. Just me. Right? So have your own back. Learn this on a very deep level. Love yourself. Treat yourself better than you've been treating yourself. Whether you're a man or a woman, by the way. I did not mean to make this gender normative or heteronormative, but love yourself in every possible way. Stop with the shame. Feel the guilt when you feel guilty about something. That's okay. That's just a learning tool. But enough with the shame. Do away with the shame. Feel the fear, but do it anyway. Do away with the fear when you can. Feel confident and strong. Have a strong backbone. Protect the back of your heart. And always have your own back. All right, guys, that's it. That's all I got to say for now. Don't forget to send in your ghost stories and your Santa Claus stories. Please, please, please. For upcoming specials. So, anyway, thank you. Thank you for being on this journey with me, on this Ascension journey. And hopefully I will be back tomorrow, healthier, feeling better, working on myself tonight. So I will. I'll be back tomorrow. God willing and the creeks don't rise, as they say. But that's it. I'm signing off now with peace and joy and the high vibes of the holy fifth dimension. Until next time, peace. Do you ever wish you could look into the next chapter in your book of life and see what's coming next? What does the universe have in store for you? I can help you with that. I will give you a Celtic cross reading, which is 10 cards, or you can ask me 3 questions, and I use 3 cards per question. So that's 9 cards, or I can channel your higher guidance, or maybe God directly for you. Maybe you want to talk to your dear departed Aunt Edna, because maybe you have a few questions and she was the smartest person you knew. If your deceased relatives are available or your ascended masters, I can channel them for you personally. Let me have 1 hour to show you the future in your next chapter of your book of life. Readings are $75, and it takes me an hour to an hour and a half to complete. And for this price, you will also be hooked up to the healing grid around the planet for free, which means yours truly, me, I will be giving you Reiki 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for the rest of your life. All you have to do is let me know. metaphysicalsoulspeak@gmail.com, and we will explore your future together.